Hi, everyone. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to join us today, so we'll get started in about a minute. If you're barely joining us, we're just going to give folks about a minute to join us tonight, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So if you're barely joining us right now, we're going to go ahead and give folks, I would say, 30 more seconds before we get started, and then we'll launch the Water Matters. Okay, so welcome to tonight's webinar, Water Matters. Today's topic is an introduction to the lawn replacement program. My name is Laura Gallegos, and I am the public affairs specialist for our outreach team, and I will be facilitating tonight's webinar. I am very excited about tonight because this is the first webinar in our Water Matters web series. We are looking forward to hosting a quarterly session that covers water topics or issues you might be interested in. You are invited to suggest topics, and you can do that by emailing me at lgallegos@scvwa.org. And I will actually put that in the chat box option so you can have that. Tonight's presentation will be recorded and posted on our website within 1 week on our Water Matters page. Some housekeeping. Please enter questions into the Q&A box option as you think of them. All questions will be answered at the end. Please ask any and all questions you may have because someone else viewing might also have the same question. We appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight for our webinar. We hope you've grabbed dinner and are ready to go with all this great information from our conservation team. Tonight's presenters, actually, first we're going to do a poll question. First question is, are you familiar with the SCV Water lawn replacement program? And if you can answer these questions in the chat box, we're going to go ahead and give that a try. Test it, make sure it's working fine. Yes. Okay. Have any of you started a lawn replacement program yet? And if so, what process where are you in the process? Yeah, it looks like a lot of you are familiar with it. Very interested. Very cool. Well, then you've come to the right place and we're excited that you're here. Like I said, this is going to be recorded. So if you have any questions, you can always hop back up and see that in the future once you start the program. Tonight's presenters are myself. I am your host of the night. And we have Matt Dickens, who they will be presenting themselves. Matt, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Matt Dickens, Sustainability Manager.
Good evening. I'm Siobhan Halushka, Water Conservation Specialist, SCV Water.
Hello, I'm Julia Groth. I'm also Water Conservation Specialist at SCV Water.
And I will be handing it over to Matt now.
Well, not before I introduce myself, Laura. Hi, I'm Janet Keith, Water Conservation Specialist here with SCV Water.
Thank
Great.
you, Janet.
We go to the next slide. All right, so again, as reiterating what Laura said, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight, for spending your evening with us, and as well as your interest in water conservation and water use efficiency. We really appreciate you attending this, and we hope to provide some great education and insight into the lawn replacement program. Tonight's presentation's milestones will include our introductions, which we've done, the lawn replacement program parameters. We're actually going to go through the process overview on how to create your application and conduct your project and then submit your application for funding. We'll discuss some lawn replacement program frequently asked questions, an overview of other rebates and services, and we'll conclude with questions and answers. But also remember that there are polls throughout the tonight's webinar. And so we look forward to having an engaging and insightful discussion. Next slide, please. So about SCV Water, who we are the full service regional water agency located here in Santa Clarita Valley. We were formed in 2018 by the act of the state legislature, and you can see all of the kind of historical water agencies here in the valley, all forming with our what was a state water project contractor, Castaic Lake Water Agency, Newhall Water Division, Santa Clarita Water Division, Valencia Water Company, all merged together in 2018 to form SCV Water. Our mission and vision were incredibly important to us. Our mission is providing responsible water stewardship to ensure Santa Clarita Valley has reliable supplies of high quality water at reasonable cost. And our vision, which is what our agency looks like when we're accomplishing our mission, is exemplary water management for a high quality of life in the Santa Clarita Valley. Next slide, please. So first and foremost, why does SCV Water have a lawn replacement program? Well, the agency has many programs for all types of customer classes, whether you're a residential customer, a business, commercial, institutional or industrial customer, or dedicated irrigation metered landscape customer. We are here to help all of our customers with their water efficiency and water conservation goals. But importantly, water conservation and water use efficiency are critical to the sustainability and vitality of our beautiful community here in Santa Clarita Valley. Conservation programs assist customers to obtain optimal utility of the water service at lowest costs. And what that means essentially is that I think all of us want to get the most out of the water that we use and pay for, but we want to have great outcomes such as great showers and dishwashers and beautiful landscapes. And one great way to have those attributes at the lowest cost is through water use efficiency by putting our water to most beneficial use. So our incentives and support programs for all customer classes specific to indoor and outdoor uses. In the Valley, irrigation accounts for about 60% of total valley-wide water use. So that's quite a bit. And with that, that means there's a lot of conservation and efficiency opportunity in that type of use. Lawns comprise a significant portion of plant use in the SCV and require significant supplemental water to survive local climate conditions. We have a very turf-centric community here, which is common in Southern California and across other places in the US. And in many cases, that may not be ideal for those types of climates and climate variability in different communities, and therefore requires different types of water use depending on where you live. However, drought-tolerant Californian SCV native plants are adapted to our local climate conditions and include the following benefits, just to name a few. Reduces water or plant watering needs by 40 to 60% compared to your cool season turf. It reduces frequency and propensity for irrigation runoff. And irrigation runoff is a pretty big issue when you have very clay soils here in the valley and a lot of topography. So we see a lot of irrigation runoff going down in the gutters. And that creates another type of issue with water quality, that water being soluble when it comes into contact with pesticides or gasoline or brake fluid or whatever the community is using in our daily lives, it picks that up and moves that through the watershed, creating some water quality issues. So by having drought sustainable water efficient landscapes, we can greatly reduce that issue. It improves the outcomes and impacts on water quality for the reasons I just mentioned, and it has positive impacts to local biodiversity. All of those wonderful native critters that are important to our community as well. Next slide, please. So when we look at our healthy and efficient landscape programs, they basically comprise of these two different components. Lawn replacement, that is replacing water, high using water thirsty grass with water efficient, sustainable California native plants. And then we also have irrigation efficiency improvements, which can be very beneficial to those folks who want to have some turf or keep some of their grass. Regardless of what you do or how you maintain your landscapes, it's always important to have high efficiency irrigation as part of that practice. Next slide, please. So this is a chart that you can see in our Water Smart workshop. Our digital virtual presenter, Wendy Waters here, is kind of showing us what typical types of plants use in the valley, both their base demand, That is how much water they require, assuming 100% efficiency, as well as how much water is typically used because of inefficient water use or typical efficiencies that we see. That is the amount of overwater over the base that we need to apply to these types of landscapes in order to get the high quality outcomes. So we can see here that on a typical year, cool season grass needs about 4 feet of water, but we typically apply about 8 feet of water. And yes, that's true. If you were to look at most residential landscapes and most grass, you would think that every year it's under 8 feet of water, if not more. However, turf with high efficiency can be reduced down to about 5 feet of water. You still have the same base demand, but you're able to reduce the losses caused by inefficient irrigation systems. However, drought tolerance with drip irrigation can be reduced to about 2 feet of water per year, with a very slight little bit needed for the efficiency, because they can run about 90% efficiency. This has a lot of impact if we look at this over the long term. Imagine 10 years. So every year, every square foot of grass is under 8 feet of water. Every 10 years, it's under 80 feet of water, as opposed to what could be about 18 to 20 feet of water if we had drought tolerant landscapes with drip irrigation. So whether you want to keep your turf, you want to convert to drought tolerant landscapes, efficiency is incredibly important. Next slide, please. So this is our second poll question. And this is, why are you interested in converting your landscape? I think we're going to launch an actual question here.
Actually, Matt, we're just gonna have them type their answers into the chat today.
Is that for all poll questions?
No, just for the first two.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for clarification, Laura. All right, so we have a lot of folks who want to save water. They like the look, using less water, saving money and water to help with the water conservation effort. Grass doesn't look very good. That I understand that. Great, so we have a lot of folks on the call tonight who want to save water and are looking for essentially to beautify their landscapes and to create more sustainable landscapes for us here in SCV and to a larger extent here in California. We'll give folks another moment to answer their questions. I really like seeing folks talk about beauty. I agree. Sustainable, drought-tolerant, California native friendly landscapes are incredibly beautiful when done right, specifically. Love plants, hate grass. Not all grass is bad, but certainly there are good uses of grass and there are not great uses of grass, that's for sure. Oh, we got increased pollinators. All right, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for supplying those answers. We really appreciate your feedback. We can go to the next slide, please. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Siobhan Halushka. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to pass it over to Julia Groth to talk about the lawn replacement program parameters. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. So first, I will review the different components of our lawn replacement program, and then I'll get into what those rebate values are. So next slide, please. So the first component of our lawn replacement program is, of course, lawn replacement, and that involves removing the grass and converting the project area to water efficient landscaping. Next slide. So as part of our the lawn replacement component, we are also offering an optional bonus incentive for using a majority of native plants in your design. So besides saving water, one of the goals of our program is to create more sustainable landscapes, and using native plants benefits native wildlife and our ecosystem. Next slide, please. We also offer a rebate for converting from spray irrigation nozzles to drip irrigation. Next, please. And we also offer a rebate for high efficiency sprinkler nozzles as long as you have a smart controller and pressure regulation. So for us, the definition of HE nozzles, they have a precipitation rate of less than 1 inch per hour. And actually a lot of native plants prefer the overhead spray to drip. And so we wanted to make sure to include this in our program. Next slide. We also offer an optional design assistance program component where one of our landscape designers that we work with can help you create your design plan. Next slide. All right, and then so you saw the different components. So here are our rebate values that we offer. So for lawn replacement, we offer a rebate of $3 per square foot with a maximum of 2,500 square feet per phase, with up to 5,000 square feet per year, up to 20,000 square feet total. So just to break it down for you, so for example, if you wanted to change out your landscape in chunks, like say I want to do my front yard first, and then I want to do this section of my backyard, you can complete your project in phases, up to 2,500 square feet for each phase. For the native plant bonus, you can get an additional 50 cents per square foot for using a majority of native plants in your design. For the drip conversion, we offer a rebate of 75 cents per square foot. For the HE nozzles, we rebate 100% cost of the device, excluding sales tax. And then lastly, we offer for the design assistance a $150 rebate. So how that would work is you would pay the designer $150 upfront at your consultation. And then at the end of the project, once it's complete and submitted and approved by SCV Water, you'll get that $150 back as part of your rebate check. Lastly, not a rebate, but I did want to note that we have seen an average of 40 to 60% water savings in those areas that have been converted. So you may also save money on your water bill. Next slide. Also included in our lawn replacement program are several exciting optional sustainability bonus incentives. Again, going along with not only to save water, but also our goal to create more sustainable landscapes. So like the LRP components I reviewed, I'll go over each component and then we'll have a chart at the end with the different incentive values. Next slide. So first, we offer a bonus incentive for incorporating a water retention feature in your design. So this includes rain gardens and bioswales, which are depressed areas in the landscape that are built to channel water and allow water to pool and absorb into the soil and into the groundwater. Another water retention feature option is incorporating terracing into hillsides, where you shape the hill and cut it into several flat areas resembling steps. And so these features help to prevent runoff, they help prevent erosion, and they essentially help keep water on your property out of the streets and storm drains and allow it to percolate into the ground. Next slide, please. The next sustainability bonus is a smart practice called sheet mulching, which is also known as soil lasagna, where you layer cardboard and organic materials. And so this helps to kill the grass without using chemicals. And at the same time, it also helps to provide nutrients and improve the soil health. Next slide. All right. And so since we're offering a bonus for using a majority of native plants, we also wanted to provide a safe nesting habitat for some of their native pollinators. So bee hotels create homes for some native bees, and native bees are essential to pollinating some of our native plants. European honeybees, which are non-native and the most commonly found around here, can't pollinate a lot of native plants. So some native plants, they require something called buzz pollination from native bees, and this has to do with the flower structure. So essentially the bee will land on the flower, it'll vibrate or wiggle its body really fast, causing the pollen to shoot out of the flower, covering the bee, and the bee will pass the pollen on to the next flower. So very important for native plant health. So also important to note, these bees that the bee hotels support are solitary, they're non-swarming, they're not aggressive, and again, they're very important for native plant health. Next slide, please. We also are offering a rebate for owl boxes or owl houses, and these provide a safe nesting space for two of our native owl species, specifically barn owls and screech owls, which normally lived in like hollowed out parts of trees like oak trees. So as you can imagine, by converting from grass and adding shrubs and other plants, a concern that was brought up was that these shrubs could create habitat for undesirable pests like rodents. And so that's where the owls come in. So these owls exclusively eat rodents. So you generally don't have to worry about your pets unless they're really, really tiny. But again, they only eat rodents. And they also provide a natural form of pest control without the harmful use of rodenticides, which can be very, very harmful to other species as well. Next slide, please. And then the last bonus that we offer rebates for rain barrels, and those collect rainwater from rooftops to be stored for later use in the landscape, which both reduces stormwater runoff and then also helps to save some money on watering your landscape. Next slide. All right, and then now here's a table with the different bonus incentive rebate values. For the water retention features and sheet mulching, we offer an additional 50 cents per square foot of the feature itself. For bee hotels and owl boxes, we offer a rebate of up to $50 each, limit one per account of each of those. And for rain barrels, we offer a rebate up to $75 with a limit of two rain barrels per account. Next slide, please. All right, and that brings us to our next poll questions. Poll question number 3, and this one, I believe, perfect. A poll just popped up. So the question is, how likely are you to use native plants in your design? Very likely, somewhat likely, not very likely, or unsure. Let's give a few more seconds for people to answer. We'll see those results. Oh, that's awesome. Great. Well, that's exciting to hear. Most people, 67%, said very likely to use native plants. So highly encourage that. Definitely will help improve, the sustainability of our landscape. They're both beautiful and, help promote and support our native pollinators. Next slide, please. Alrighty, and then now I'll pass it over to Siobhan to go over the LRP process overview.
Thank you, Julia. As Julia mentioned, I'm going to go over the process overview, which includes the online application process. Next, please. First, I'll go over some program rules and requirements. The grass must be living and it must be in place up until the pre-inspection phase and up until you receive the notice to proceed. We do not incentivize previously completed projects. Customers must accept the notice to proceed. Eligible areas are front, side, and backyard, at least 50% plant coverage at maturity. Artificial turf and hardscapes are not funded. Partial lawn removal in multiple phases are allowed, which includes must be full zones, at least 50% turf grass, a minimum project size of 100 square feet, maximum size of 2,500 square feet, and a yearly max of 5,000 square feet. Projects must use drip or HE nozzles, and projects cannot be converted back within 10 years. Next slide, please. Here we'll cover some items that will be helpful for you to be prepared before applying. We suggest folder for receipts, files, and documents and notes because you definitely will need that during the application phase. We also suggest creating a folder in your computer for easy electronic document management. A recent water bill within the previous 90 days would be great. All forms and applications must be completed by the SCV Water bill account holder, which includes the W-9 form. Completed drought-ready checkup forms if you've completed one within the previous 6 months, if applicable. We also suggest that you bookmark and save the conservation web portal to your favorites because you'll be going into the application throughout your conversion. Next slide, please. This is our lawn replacement process overview. This is a really great document that's available on our conservation portal. This breaks down the actual lawn replacement process really nicely. It's in 3 different phases. It details each slide. So this would be a great document to print and check off as you go. It might look like a lot of steps, but it's really not. We're going to go through this step by step. And it's really important to note that customers must complete all steps in each phase before moving to the next phase. I've had a lot of customers submit applications where their projects are already complete or they've already removed their grass and started their conversion projects. And unfortunately, we're not able to fund those projects. Next slide. So we'll start with phase 1, which is apply. You'll start your online application. You'll go to your scvwater.dropletprograms.com, and we have a QR code that'll take you right to the conservation portal. Once you're there, you'll select Get Started. Next, please. You'll then create your online profile. You'll input your name, phone number, your email, and then you'll select a password, and then you'll select Create Account. And a quick smart tip we have, please write down your username and password and keep those in a safe place for your records. I get that a lot where customers forget either their username or password or both. So that's a great tip. So next, please. You'll continue to create your account by inputting your account number and uploading a water bill. When you do input your account number, it's important to note that on your bill, you might see some characters. Only input the numerical digits, please. And then once you're complete with this screen, you'll select Add Account. And this will bring you into the application. So this is where you'll start an application. You'll select Apply, which is next to the right of lawn removal. Next slide. And if you're ready to go, you know what project areas you'd like to convert. You would select I'm ready, let's go. And the next screen you'll see in the apply phase would be the review and confirm requirements. First, you'll review the requirements that I briefly went over in previous slides, and then you'll also review the terms and conditions. You'll confirm your project area. You'll confirm if you've received a drought-ready checkup within the last 6 months. If you have, you can upload it here, and that will bypass the pre-inspection step. If not, it's okay. You would just click no, and we'll get you a pre-inspection further down the line in the application phase. Next step. Thank you. So now you'll be prompted to contact WaterWise to schedule your pre-inspection. A smart tip, just so you know, you'll get a copy of your pre-inspection from WaterWise, and that'll be emailed to you. Next. After the pre-inspection, it's the accept notice of pre-approval step. You will receive an email from SCV Water to log into your dashboard and enter the project details. Once you're logged in, you'll see the green Submit Project Details button. You'll click that. Next. We have a design assistance option, or if you have your own design plan, you would just go directly to the next step. So there's two options. If you choose to create the design, yourself and not participate in the design assistance program, you can proceed to step 4. In the next slide, I will detail what step 3 design assistance covers if you choose this route. Next. So this is the design assistance optional. If you do choose to go this route, there will be an online design questionnaire that's built into the application. You'll then select your designer. You'll receive designer contact info. You'll review your questionnaire with your designer, and you'll get your customized plan. Next. So that brings us to our 4th poll question. Are you interested in using SCV Water's design assistance program? Yes, no, or unsure. So we'll give everybody a few minutes just to choose your answers. Okay. Okay, it looks like a lot of participants are interested in the program. Some no, that's okay. I know a lot of people like to do their own or seek their own design plans. That's fine. All right, next, please. And here's some sample project designs. The top design project plan is from one of our designers. And then the bottom one is a sample DIY plan. Both plans are acceptable and they're suitable for our program. It's important to note that do-it-yourself project plans should clearly label plants, permeable landscape materials that will be used, and the irrigation type. Next. So now we're at the submit project details step within the online application. You'll confirm your project location and square footage of the project area. You'll confirm project details, such as if you'll be upgrading to drip irrigation, or if you would like to use native plants. You get an estimate there of some of our basic program components. And then you would upload your design plan directly into the application. Next. The next part of submitting the project details is the plant list. Here you enter in, you can search our plant list. We have a wide variety of plants. The best way to search is to use only the first few letters of a plant. So for example, milk for milkweed, it'll call up any plants that have milk in it. If you cannot find your plant in our list, that's okay. You can use the add a plant option, which is at the bottom there. You just need to know the botanical name and common name, and you can add that to your plant list, no problem. Next. All right, I think this is the last screen for the submit project details. This is where you would review and check program FAQs and the terms and conditions again. You download a release of the liability form, and then you would need to return the assigned copy, and you can return it in a few different ways. We suggest uploading it to the application directly. This is for faster processing, but if you would like to, you can also mail it or email it to us. Next. And this is the authorization to proceed step. This is where you will receive a notice from SCV Water to proceed. You'll log into your application. You'll select the accept notice to proceed, and then you will select accept terms. Your funds will be reserved, and your 120 days to complete your you'll have 120 days to complete your project. Next. So now this moves us into the convert phase. There's several different options to remove your grass. As Julia mentioned earlier, we have a sheet mulching option where we offer 50 cents per square foot. If you choose to remove your grass that way, there's also a method where you could use a sod cutter or shovel. Next. And then during the convert phase, this is you'll need to also upgrade your irrigation because we have irrigation requirements. You can choose to irrigate by drip or HE nozzles. There cannot be mixed zones, so you must choose either drip irrigation for a watering zone or HE nozzles. And there's a qualified list of HE nozzles, and we have the QR code there to the right where you can find all the eligible products. Another smart tip comes up here for us, especially with the HE nozzles. If you're purchasing those, please make sure your receipts or invoices include the model numbers and costs of the devices without tax or installation. Next. All right, we're on to our fifth poll question. What type of irrigation equipment would you like to use in your project? Drip, high efficiency sprinkler nozzles, or other? I'll just give it a few more seconds for everybody to answer. All right, looks like drip is the majority, and high efficiency sprinkler nozzles is next. So very good, all very good choices. Next slide, please. All right, so the next step in converting your lawn is install your plants. And a smart tip we have for everyone is the best time to plant is in fall or spring. If you're interested in the California natives, fall is the best time to plant those guys. Next. So the next step is mulch and finish. So now it's time to cover up the bare soil with permeable materials such as decomposed granite, landscape rock, or mulch. It's important to, at this time, I wanted to make sure that everyone, just kind of remind everybody to keep that folder with documents such as receipts, invoices, and pictures, because you'll definitely need them to complete your online application. All right, next, please. So we've collected some information for local landscape conversion resources. A lot of customers have asked, so here's our list. You could choose to have a laborer and construction contractor do your project, or you could do it yourself. And we have a bunch of different places you can purchase your irrigation equipment, plants, or landscape materials here. Next. Okay, so now that your project is complete, your conversion's done, you're going to log back into to the conservation portal to complete your online application. Your lawn removal will be under active rebates, and to the right of it, you'll see a green submit button. If you select that, you'll be able to update the application. So next. So you'll update your application by entering your project completion details. You'll upload photos and receipts. You'll have a chance to edit your final plant list. I know a lot of times customers select plants in the initial design plan, and they're not always available once they're ready to plant. So that's fine. You just got to make sure that 50% plant coverage is always maintained. You can come in and edit your plant list. And then when you're done with entering your details, you're going to choose submit project. Next, and this will put you in the post-inspection phase, and you'll be prompted to contact WaterWise again for your post-inspection. Next. And then once the post-inspection is done, we will work on gathering your final documents. You can choose to receive the payment yourself. It must be the SCV Water account holder's name, though, so that's who must complete the W-9 form. If you would like, you can also choose a rebate transfer request option, which is to the right there. And the SCV Water account holder would fill out that portion, and then the contractor would complete the W-9. So the funds would be, the rebate check would be sent to the contractor instead. So there's a couple of choices there. Next slide. All right, and after that, get paid. The rebate check is mailed out within 90 to 120 days of receipt of all documentation. Next. And then finally, you can enjoy your landscape. And now I'm going to pass it over to Julia to go over our FAQs. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Siobhan, for going through that process. Like Siobhan said, we know it seems like a lot, but really once you get started, you'll see that the process is actually quite easy, and also know that we're always here to help you along the way. So now I'll review some frequently asked questions we often receive. Next slide, please. So a common misconception we've heard a lot is that people often think water efficient or drought tolerant means cactus and gravel and very desertscape. And so, you know, while that's great and beautiful, it's a great option. As you've probably seen from the rest of our presentation, water efficient drought tolerant landscapes can actually include many different other species of plants and trees, and can be, you know, come in many beautiful and different styles. Next slide, please. So another question we get asked is how to reduce out-of-pocket costs. As Siobhan just mentioned a little bit earlier, we offer that rebate transfer request form where you can request to have your rebate transferred to a licensed contractor at the completion of the project. And so that helps to reduce those out-of-pocket costs for you. Next slide. So this slide was from Siobhan's section as well, but we wanted to show it again and just point out that there are many local conservation resources available. And again, you can either choose the DIY route, which might actually save a little money as well, or go with a contractor who will help you with all those different components. Next slide. We get asked a lot if we recommend any specific landscape contractor, and the answer is we currently do not. So we suggest you do your research online, or if you're participating in the design assistance, you can ask your landscape designer and they might have recommendations and suggestions for you. Next slide. So what are the long-term benefits of converting your landscape? So long-term benefits include financial savings, of course. So with lower water use, you'll likely see a lower water bill. And as mentioned before, in past projects, we see an average water savings of 40 to 60% from those converted areas. And then also converting your landscape, as shown it can actually increase your property values 11 to 15%. So that's good too. Also, another benefit is landscape resiliency. So your landscape will be better able to withstand future drought, as well as mandatory water shortage measures. Next slide. So we also wanted to provide some other materials and resources that we think will be helpful for you in your projects. So first we have SantaClaritagardens.com, where you can find plant information as well as landscape inspiration. We have an online rebate estimator tool on our website, which Matt will demo shortly. We have an improved plant selection tool, which Siobhan showed earlier in her section. We also have a new top 100 SCV friendly plant guide, which is very exciting. You can see the cover there on the left side. And this includes 50 California and SCV native plants, and then 50 other water efficient plants that do well in the SCV. We also have fact sheets on our website available for our sustainability incentive programs. So you can look at those and read more about the rules and requirements and about those features. We also have several resources that are in the works and coming soon. So Almost Ready is a care sheet for customers and their gardeners to help care for their new landscapes. So, we've identified, many of us are used to the maintenance involved for grass, kind of the mow and blow, the traditional maintenance. And so this guide will help you as well as your landscaper or gardener learn how to take care of these new drought tolerant landscapes. Also in the works are more example gardens and testimonials that you can see for inspiration. We are working on garden design templates with plant lists that you can kind of plug and play or use for your inspiration. And we also plan to create a list of LRP trained landscape contractors, designers, and nurseries to provide that helpful resource for you. Next slide. All right, and then I'll pass it over to Matt to demo our online rebate estimator tool.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Siobhan. So on the previous slide, we saw, let me share my screen here. We saw a home that was measured using Google Earth or the city's GIS tool, which is something that both are free that you can use to grab an image of your home and your landscape and then draw or outline and measure the square footage. In this case, I did my home, which was the previous slide, my home's front yard. And so we're looking at about, I want to say it's 870 square feet roughly. So in this sense, I went to your SCV Water dropletprograms.com/rebater estimator. You can also get to it by going to the program page. But in this case, I went to the estimator and I plugged in my square footage. I'm a residential customer and this is my front yard. So I'm going to start my new estimate. So it asked me some questions and I can go through this pretty quickly. Am I removing living turf from the project area? Yes. Am I going to plant at least 217.5 square feet of native plants? I'm going to select yes. So I get more money here in my estimate. Will I be using artificial grass or impermeable surfaces? No. Am I going to add a water retention feature? I'm not going to add a water retention feature here. Will I add sheet mulching? Yes, I will. Probably to about 600 of that because I plan to have 600 square feet of that because I plan to have some pathways through my yard so I can get to and from my backyard. Will I have a bee hotel? Sure. I think that sounds like a great idea. Will I add an owl box? Yep. How about rain barrels? I like rain barrels. They work great when it's raining. And I'm going to get 2 of those. And I'm going to use design assistance. So then I'm going to go down to the help and irrigation device rebates. Will I upgrade to drip irrigation? Yes. Will I add high efficiency nozzles? Not this time because I'm using drip. Will I add master pressure regulation? Yes. Am I going to add a pressure regulating valves? No, because I have master pressure regulation. Am I going to add pressure regulating bodies with check valves? No, because drip irrigation doesn't work with those types of devices. How about a smart controller? Smart controllers are great because you can plug in the plant type, you can plug in the soil type, the distribution, the sprinkler type, and they also adjust it automatically to the weather. And they're really easy to manage these days from your cell phone. So, yep, I'm going to add one of those, and we have a rebate up to $150. Will I be adding a soil moisture sensor? No, because I have a smart controller. I don't have a pool, so I will not be adding a pool cover. So then I just click estimate my rebate, and check this out. Based off of this, my estimated rebate is about $4,300 or $4,400 to convert 870 square feet if I were to use these attributes in my design.
Great. Thanks, Matt. And if Laura, you can pull up the presentation again. Next slide. Perfect. All right, so thanks again, Matt, for that demonstration. And so lastly, we wanted to briefly review other rebates and services we offer. Next slide. So as Matt mentioned, some of these components were included in the estimator tool. We also offer standalone rebates and incentives. So whether you are converting to a sustainable landscape with our lawn replacement program, or just want to improve the efficiency of your current landscape or lawn in place, we offer rebates for smart controllers of $150 up to the cost of the device. Again, we offer a drip conversion rebate for 75 cents per square foot. High efficiency nozzles for 100% cost of the purchase price, excluding tax. 75% cost of the purchase price for master pressure regulation with a limit of 1 per account. 75% cost of the purchase price for specifically pressure regulating spray irrigation valves. We also offer $10 each for pressure regulating bodies with a check valve. These are good to use on slopes because they prevent water from leaking out of the lowest nozzles after irrigating. And lastly, we rebate up to $200 for pool covers with a limit of 1 per account. Next slide, please. We also offer free water efficiency surveys through our consultant WaterWise. You can see their phone number right there if you're interested. They can do indoor surveys, outdoor surveys, as well as drought-ready home checkups to help you identify water savings opportunities, as well as what rebates you might be eligible for. And they also provide free leak detection surveys as well if you suspect that you have a leak. We also offer the online Water Smart Workshop, which walks you through your own at-home self-water audit. And for completing that, you'll receive a $20 credit on your water bill. Next slide. Perfect, and that leads us to our last poll question of the night. So when are you planning on starting your project? Within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or undecided? I'll give a few more seconds for people to get their answers in. All right, let's see. So we have a number of people who are ready to go. 29% want to start within 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Some of you are still undecided, and that's totally fine. We're always here and ready to help, from SCV Water anytime you're ready to start or if you have any questions. Next slide. All right, and I'll pass it over to Laura to introduce this section.
Welcome back, everybody. Siobhan, Janet, if you can join us. We do have a large amount of questions. I'm going to try to group some of them where it hits on the same topic. One question we got was, does replacing lawn or grass with pavers count?
So that's a great question. As Siobhan noted in the program rules and requirements, the project at the end of the project must have at least 50% plant coverage at maturity. The other 50% can be pavers as long as they are permeable pavers.
And then on average, how much would it cost to do a lawn replacement?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a question that we do get. Something that we are planning on working on is developing a cost estimator tool. It's kind of hard to find a range, so we're hoping to create a tool that shows kind of the range of costs, whether you do it the DIY approach or with a contractor. As you can imagine, with if you do it yourself, it's cheaper than if you use a contractor, but it's whatever works best for you. Based on previous projects, I know we were looking at that. We've seen projects ranging from $5 to $15 per square foot. So it all depends, on the size, on if you use a contractor, the materials that you use. And so there is a bit of a range there.
Okay, thank you, Julia. What if my grass is already dying due to water rations? Then do I not qualify for the rebate?
Great question. SCV Water recognizes and appreciates customers who have taken water conservation measures actively, and we recognize that during the drought, some folks have decided to turn their sprinkler systems off. So with that, what I would recommend, we are being somewhat flexible here in that requirement, but what I would recommend is that you contact or start your application and schedule that pre-inspection so that WaterWise can get out and determine the extent of the grass, and then also determine how long the grass has been dead. So we are very flexible here. There are limits. If the grass has been dead for 10, 15 years, clearly that's going to be something that we would see in the inspection. But if it's something that you've actively taken measures to reduce water on your turf in the last 6 months or year, and it's brown and it's not doing well, we would certainly consider that and be flexible with that in the program application.
Thank you. Somebody wants to know, are HE nozzle upgrades available for existing lawns?
Yeah. So that was answered in the last section where I talked about our other rebates available. So HE nozzles are available for rebate, both in the lawn replacement program as well as for existing landscapes. So you're definitely eligible for those.
Okay. Somebody wants to know if we can explain a little bit on the proposed plant palette and how they support pollinators.
Yeah, I think, are they referring to the top 100 plant guide? That's what I'm thinking that they're talking about. I can just tell you kind of how we came up with the top 100 SCV friendly plants guide. So again, that guide consists of 50 California and SCV native plants, and then 50 other low water use plants. And so how we came up with that guide is we talked with local landscape designers that we worked with, people from local nurseries, and such as like Theodore Payne Foundation, who is really big on natives. I utilized tools such as Calscape to look up and see what natives are readily available in our area. And so kind of the way that guide formed together was from a number of different sources. And so we're happy to have 50 natives that you can choose from. And also important to note, we get sometimes a little bit of confusion. You can choose plants for your project outside of that top 100 SCV friendly plants guide. Those are not the only plants you can use. You can use other plants as well. Those are just suggestions.
Thank you, Julia. Would a church property with lots of lawn be eligible for these rebates?
Yeah, they absolutely would. So our lawn replacement program, we have a residential version, and we also have a version available for commercial and large landscape customers such as HOA, churches, other groups. And so it is very, very similar to this program. There are a couple of little differences in the rebate values and requirements, but definitely we do have a commercial lawn replacement program as well.
Okay. This is more of an HOA question. So how do we get our HOA to allow us to change the landscape?
That's a great question. And HOAs have different rules and requirements. And it's important to note that if you live in an HOA, you're going to want to work with the HOA's process in terms of transitioning and transforming your landscape. They are, in most cases, from what I've seen, they will allow customers to convert their landscapes as long as they conform to their style guides. And their style guides have recently, in the last, I would say 10 years, have been updated to include a lot of drought tolerant California native and friendly plants. But there is certainly room and opportunity for growth there.
A follow-up question to that. So how can I finish in 120 days if it takes longer to go through the HOA project approval?
Siobhan, I think that might be a question regarding extensions you might be able to answer.
Yeah, we offer extensions. So if you need more time, especially if you get closer to your expiration date, because that'll be listed on your online application, you can definitely reach out to me and I'm no problem. I can work with you if you need an extra 30, 60 days, whatever it might be.
Somebody wants to know, what if they already have a controller for their irrigation?
They already
Is
have a
what-
smart controller? Oh,
Yeah.
Are they looking for a rebate maybe if you've purchased it within the last 6 months? We have a standalone smart controller rebate that you could apply for if it's an eligible WaterSense labeled smart controller. And there's more details on our conservation portal where the lawn replacement program that I went through is at. All of our rebates are there.
And if you purchase a new smart controller and you haven't previously participated in the smart controller program, you can apply for the rebate.
Okay, somebody said, I'm not a DIYer and I need a designer and a contractor. How do I proceed and where do I start?
Yeah, so kind of as we walk through the, Siobhan helped walk through the application process. We do offer design assistance. So the designer, they'll work with you and help you to come up with your design plan. In terms of contractors, again, we don't have any specific contractors that we recommend at this time, but we recommend that you look online, talk to others that have worked with contractors. And also, especially if you're interested in the design assistance, you can talk to your landscape designer and they probably have recommendations and suggestions of people that they worked with.
Okay, does design assistance work for both front and backyards?
Correct. Yeah, as long as it's the project area is 2,500 square feet or less. Yes.
Somebody wants to know, do you promote the use of decomposed granite?
Yeah.
We certainly allow decomposed granite to be used in the non 50% plant maturity portion of the landscape.
Okay, somebody has a question. Could you make potted plants over bark mulch so you can migrate the plants to their best locations?
Can you repeat that question, Laura?
Yeah, could you make potted plants? I'm assuming they're planting and then they're putting them in pots over their landscape conversion program to move, let's say, like a tree to a different area for the best place for the plant.
Yeah, I'm not really clear on that. I would think that if the idea is, can you grow your own plants and then incorporate them into your garden, I would think that you could, as long as you know what they are and they're on the plant list. I imagine you could use that process to help cover your 50% plant maturity, but they would need to be in the ground. You wouldn't want to bark over everything or mulch over everything and then put some potted plants out front. I don't think that would align with the spirit of the program.
Okay, question about the form. So will rebate be considered a taxable income, meaning SCV will issue a 1099 at the year end?
Yeah, anything over 599 will be any programs participation that is combined 599 or more per calendar year. Yes, you'll be issued a 1099.
I would note that recently the state of California passed a law that allows lawn conversion programs to are not taxable, and that SCV Water has through our national partnerships, lobbied to try to make water efficiency programs tax exempt, similar to the energy efficiency programs, but that is yet to be approved or adopted by Congress and the federal government.
Okay, somebody said, what if my lawn has a lot of weeds or there's dirt areas where weeds grow due to neighbors' bushes blocking? Do those count for the lawn replacement program?
Yeah, it's a very specific case. Again, I would recommend starting the application and having WaterWise visit the property to kind of determine if that's in a zone that's getting watered, but it's not looking healthy. And as long as the zone is at least 50% grass, then that would count towards our program. But again, there could be cases where they don't meet those criteria, and therefore they would not be included in the rebated project area.
So somebody said, can you share the logic for why you discourage the use of plastic grass, aka artificial turf? Where is it documented on your website so I can share with others?
So it's a great question. While the agency recognizes that artificial grass does save water, the goal of this program is to create sustainable landscapes, of which artificial grass does not promote. So from that perspective, it's just not allowed or rebated in the program. However, with that said, if customers want to incorporate some artificial turf into their program and have other parts of the turf, like they want to remove grass, put some artificial turf in, but 50% plant maturity, they'll get rebated the 50% that has the native plants. They just want to get rebated for the artificial turf.
So somebody wants to know, should they start with their HOA or with the application with SCV Water and the designer? So who do they start with?
I would recommend, and Janet, you might be able to have some comments on this too. What would you recommend, Janet?
Well, I think you would want to go to the HOA with your design in hand. So maybe meet with the designer first, get your design, and then take it to the HOA and get it approved.
Somebody said, when we were giving an estimate on how much it costs, was it on average rebate for the average yard, Julia?
So those are different. Those are project range cost ranges that we've seen for residential customers. That's $5 per square foot to $15 per square foot. So I would say it's the average because it's a number of projects that we've kind of looked at and looking at the price ranges per square foot.
Yeah, and I would say too that it depends on the density of your plants, how fancy you want to make it. Depends a lot on your contractor, or if you're doing it yourself, obviously. So things like that, you can increase the cost or minimize the cost by maybe minimizing the plants and doing it yourself.
Somebody wants to know, does the program, the LRP, work in HOA common area environment?
Yes, absolutely. HOAs can apply for the lawn replacement program for their common areas. And all they need to do is go onto our website and go into the lawn replacement program and get started.
Here's a question about irrigation. So how can you only use one system of irrigation with a diverse palette? Meaning, why can't you mix drip and HE?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. So what we're really saying here is you don't want to mix an irrigation zone with two types of irrigation systems. And that's because they apply water at very different rates, and therefore you would have imbalance in terms of overwatering some portion of your landscape and underwatering others. So what we do recommend is that your irrigation match your hydro zone. That is, that you plant similar water requirement plants together, and that you use a single irrigation type for that area. But you can certainly have one zone with high efficiency nozzles, another zone with drip if you want to. And that way, when you program your controller, you can program in the precip rate and it will have equal distribution uniformity across the area. And that's very, very important when it comes to maximizing efficiency and having optimal efficiency with your irrigation system, your smart controller, and your landscape materials.
Somebody's made a comment. Why can't I just let my lawn die and stop watering?
You certainly can just stop watering your lawn and let it. Currently, we are in a drought emergency, statewide drought emergency, and with that comes the governor's request that all Californians conserve 15% compared to 2020, and certain customers respond to that conservation call in different ways. However, what happens next year if there's, if we have a triple La Nina, or we have continued drought, or if you want to weather the drought long term, then taking advantage of the lawn replacement program, as Julia pointed out, creates more resilient, drought resilient landscapes. So it's a great time to take advantage of this program to remove that grass and put in something that can thrive and survive here in the valley.
Okay, what is the rebate amount that we're allowed to rebate? What was the maximum amount?
Ooh, I have to do the math on that. I would have to do the math on that. Maybe with the estimator tool, we can do that real quick. But I know it would be for 2,500 square feet. That's the maximum project size per phase. And then, of course, taking advantage of all the different bonus incentives, such as the native plant bonus, the water retention features, those other sustainability bonuses. I don't have the number on top of my head.
Right. It would
yeah.
start at per 2,500 square feet. It would be $7,500 at $3 per square foot. And then from there, it could grow depending on the types of measures and sustainability features you incorporate in your garden. And it could get pretty sizable. And then you could have multiple projects per year. So it really depends on the size of the project, on all of the features that customers choose to incorporate in their projects.
Okay, question. Pop quiz. Is Russian sage on your plant list?
I saw this question as Siobhan, I think, was presenting, and I did look, and yes, Russian sage is on our plant list. It is in the 50 non-native but other low water use plants, so it's covered.
And how much vegetable garden can be used, or can it be used?
So with edible plant material, that's a little bit tricky. So some plant materials, such as like a citrus, could be used because those tend to be lower water use. However, a lot of vegetables and veggie gardens tend to be really high water use, sometimes even higher water use than grass. So unfortunately, I think, and Matt, you can jump in and clarify this as well, but I think that it depends, I think, on the plant that you're trying to plant.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There, you can get strategic, I guess, in your projects. So if you take out 1,000 square feet of grass, you have to put in 500 square feet of plant coverage at maturity. And those plants are on the qualifying plant list, and those could include trees, the California natives, SCV natives, lower water use plants. I don't think food crops are on the list per se. Those things like tomatoes and zucchinis and whatnot. However, on the other half of your project, the 50%, if you wanted to put a raised garden in there, I believe that would be completely acceptable. So really, you can get kind of strategic about it and have some fun. But what you can't put on that 50% that's non-plant are things that are impervious. You can't just put a concrete pad that's not permeable concrete or artificial grass or those types of things. It can be, decomposed granite pathways. It could be a garden, a fruit garden. You can use it as a staging area with decomposed granite that you grow plants. That would be within the program spirit.
Thank you for that. You kind of dug into this right now, Matt, but how much or percentage of plant coverage versus decomposed granite and pads would be required for this program?
50% plant coverage at maturity. So again, if you remove 1,000 square feet of grass, at least 500 square feet of that would have to be plant coverage at maturity.
Okay. Will the design service just be a consultation or will they make a complete plan?
So they will design, they will provide you with a design in terms of detail. It might not be as detailed as perhaps a longer consultation, but they should provide you with a plan that's drawn out and meets our specifications and requirements.
Yeah, I would say the operative word there is complete. And, they're going to give you a conversion concept with recommendations for the type of irrigation you should use. But in terms of a, certified landscape architectural plan, that's not what they're going to provide. It's going to be a concept design based off of what you're hoping to accomplish.
Thank you. Okay, so this is more of like a question about irrigation. If you want to use multiple zones with multiple controllers using drip and HE, is that allowed?
As long as the irrigation for a single zone is not some drip and some irrigation. So if you had a controller with 8 stations on it or 8 zones, and you had 4 drip and 4 high efficiency nozzles, that would be completely acceptable under the program. What isn't eligible is if you have a controller with 1 zone and you put in high efficiency nozzles for half of it and half of the other irrigation would be drip. That would not be, again, that would create distribution uniformity issues. And that's not a smart practice for high efficiency irrigation.
Okay, another money question. Will the funds run out?
So right now, that's a great question. And that's why we do encourage customers to start their applications, get their information in, because once that application is in and they've received the notice to proceed from the agency, it reserves your funds as we have them today. So yes, there is a potential for the funds to run out. But that's why it's very important to get your application in now, because it reserves your funds. And right now there are funds that are available. So if the funding was not available, then the program, you would not be able to enter into the program. So so for example, let's say we had a rush to convert landscapes of totally our budget for this fiscal year, and it was reserved in our system at 100%. We would close the system out until funding was either replenished or certain projects were paid out, or we had money that we could use in that program. So it's very important to know.
Okay, well, one more question. Okay, last question. It's more like a comment. I believe you are doing a very good thing here. Thanks for putting all this effort in. I especially like all the pollinator support and habitat improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that. It's been, very important for us, not just to save water, but to create, more sustainable landscapes that'll be long-term and benefit our community as well. So thank you.
And then once again, we appreciate you taking the time to join us for our webinar. We hope you've learned a thing or two about all the tools and resources that SCV Water offers our customers. Please do not hesitate to reach out to our water conservation team if you have any questions about the program. Tonight's presentation was recorded and will be posted on our website within a week. Any last regards, Matt, Julia?
Yes, if I could, Laura, thank you very much. I definitely want to thank all of you tonight for joining us, and thank you for your commitment to water conservation and water use efficiency. We're really excited to see your projects come into our portal. Now you've had an opportunity to meet Siobhan. Siobhan she's our residential coordinator as well as the conservation specialist. So in many cases, when you're dealing with your application issues, she's going to be the one you're talking to. So now you've had an opportunity to say hello. But again, from SCV Water, we thank all of you for taking your time and spending your evening with us tonight. Lastly, I would definitely like to thank Laura and our communications team for putting together the Water Matters webinar series. And then a special shout out to Julia, Siobhan, and Janet for all the hard work they do to provide excellent customer service and conservation support to our community, and for the work they did tonight on this slide deck. Thank you all so very much, and hope you have a wonderful evening and a great holiday season.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks,
good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.